You're watching KRQE News 13.
And good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for this KRQE News 13 webcast. I'm Chris McKee here in the KRQE News 13 digital studio. I want to give you a look at your top headlines here at 5:30. As we know, NCAA basketball is preempting our news coverage here online, or on air rather, today. So let's first talk about our top story of the day. New Mexico is now heading into a new phase when it comes to COVID-19 vaccines. The State Department of Health announced today that starting today, the vaccine eligibility has been opened up for all groups within 1B and 1C. That nearly doubles the amount of people and includes frontline workers, grocery store employees, retail, manufacturing employees, also a huge list of other essential workers in professions like food services, banking, repair shops, and many, many more. The state says the new rules nearly double the amount of New Mexicans now eligible for a vaccine. Now, also, that does not mean, though, that the state is backing off from prioritizing more vulnerable populations.
We're going to keep doing what we've been doing, which is prioritize in the order of the phases, because the order of the phases is the order of COVID vulnerability. It's the order of risk folks face. So yes, if you're in one of those earlier phases, particularly if you're a 75 plus or 60 plus with a chronic condition, you can expect to be invited on average faster than somebody like me or somebody lower down in 1C, because it's more important to get you the vaccine faster.
We have now posted the complete list of breaking down who is eligible for each phase of vaccine. That is on KRQE.com, and more than 1 million total shots of vaccine, first shots of vaccine, have now been doled out in New Mexico. It's a pretty incredible accomplishment there for the state. Now, meanwhile, the CDC is also updating its guidelines for school reopening. You see there, new guidance announced today saying elementary students can now sit 3 feet apart in classrooms if they are wearing masks. That is also true for middle school and high schoolers unless they're in communities with transmission rates that are considered high. So why the change from the 6-foot distance? Well, the CDC says it doesn't have conclusive evidence, but saying that there's no conclusive evidence that 6 feet is required for maintaining low spread. They also note that younger children are less likely to get COVID-19, or seriously ill rather, from COVID-19.
Layered mitigation strategies, including strict use of masks among students and a distance of at least 3 feet between students, were common factors among the schools in these studies that demonstrated decreased transmission from COVID-19.
Now, as well, we did talk to the New Mexico Public Education Department about their guidelines. They are still recommending that schools should keep people 6 feet apart to the greatest extent possible. A spokesperson tells us as well that they do recognize that some classrooms may need to be less than that due to the space. Now, we also want to give you a look at the latest COVID-19 numbers here today for March 19th. The New Mexico Department of Health is reporting 226 new COVID-19 cases. That includes 84 in Bernalillo, 41 in Doña Ana, 29 in Sandoval County, and 17 in Santa Fe County. No other county had more than 10 cases. 5 more New Mexicans also were added to the total death toll of 3,882 people. 130 people are currently in the hospital with COVID-19. Another big story today is what is going on at the New Mexico Roundhouse. The answer is a lot, simply put. Lawmakers have passed a $7.4 billion budget today. That now heads to Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham's desk for her approval. Another hot topic, though, has been something the governor's been talking about here for years, and that is the final showdown here now for an effort to get recreational marijuana legalized in the state of New Mexico.
Why I'm so supportive of this piece of legislation in particular is that it is inclusive of, I think, a lot of components that we've seen both through the House and now in the Senate, that includes not only an economic diversification, of course, saving the state money, bringing in new revenue, and promoting consumer safety.
While I don't believe in the concept yet of New Mexico yet having marijuana available with what I believe this would lead to, or having it controlled by what I think would be the ultimate controlling group of people, that my comments for you are hopefully intended to be constructive.
New Mexico Senate lawmakers are expected to debate and vote on the so-called Cannabis Regulation Act this evening. House lawmakers have already passed House Bill 12, that is. The bill has been repeatedly reworked, though, throughout the entire session, and one of the latest versions would allow recreational marijuana to be used by people 21 and over, impose a 12% tax on all cannabis sales that would go to local and county governments. The bill also would allow for marijuana sales to start in April 2022. Some lawmakers have expressed concern about the nature of the bill changing so often and going to a final vote just hours before the session ends. KRQE News 13's legislative reporter Rachel Knapp will have continuing coverage on this bill throughout the evening, and we'll have the latest on KRQE News 13 tonight at 10. You can also chat with Rachel there on Twitter. She usually does a lot of updates about this bill over there. All right, looking at a bill that lawmakers passed in the early hours this morning. State senators, they passed one of the most controversial bills near around 2 a.m. on a near party line vote. This is the Healthy Workplaces Act. It would require private businesses to let employees earn paid sick leave. It is House Bill 20, and it outlines that the longer an employee is with a company, the more paid time off they'll accrue. Opponents of the bill think it would be yet another financial strain on small businesses. Especially in the COVID era. The Senate passed that bill after 2 this morning with a 25-16 vote. It was one Democrat voting against the bill, Senator George Munoz. The bill now goes back to House lawmakers for approval before it can go to the governor. Of course, COVID-19 has made for a lot of changes in New Mexico. But for the first time in more than a year, New Mexico United is slated to play a soccer game in front of fans in New Mexico here this weekend. Preseason play, it kicks off for the New Mexico United tomorrow against the El Paso Locomotive. United says more than 300 people will be able to watch the game from socially distanced pods around the field. They're playing at Mesa del Sol tomorrow. Players and officials say they are excited to have fans back in the stands.
I wish we could fit more people in, but we got to keep people spread out and safe, and so we're going to do that. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few people peeking over the fence. I'm not going to say anything.
That is a good thing to see happening now. Some live sports happening right here for New Mexican fans. The team will be playing 3 preseason games at that training facility they've got in Mesa del Sol. And they'll also play their regular season home games, though still at Isotopes Park. Now, we want to, before we go, get a quick look at weather. Here is KRQE's newest meteorologist, Eric DeBroca.
We're going to be seeing still cool conditions once that sun sets. A lot of dry air is in place, so that air going to be cooling quickly, but calm conditions. Cash in on that because a big change in this forecast here. Cool and quiet tonight, mostly clear skies, and then tomorrow we're going to start cranking up those winds out of the southwesterly direction. That's going to help warm our temperatures well into the 70s here with very strong winds, 30 to even 40 miles per hour for both Saturday and Sunday. And then it's early next week. Some big changes start to come our way. Of course, we do start to see that here in the month of March. What comes up must come down. A month known for its high winds and its wild temperature swings will be no exception here in the days to come. So early next week, we're looking at a very weak storm system. And then by the middle of next week, we're also going to be seeing a more potent storm that will kind of reinforce some cold air and, yes, bring some rain snow chances even pretty far south of Interstate 40, and even rain all the way to the Mexican border as well as parts of Texas as well. So a pretty stormy trend here going into the middle of next week. Your forecast here for southern Colorado, we're looking at temperatures pretty nice for the weekend, low 60s there, but then look at how we crash into the upper 40s by the time we get into next week. For parts of the northwest areas of Farmington, looking at upper 60s for our Saturday. Break out the spring clothes for the first full weekend of spring, but you might have to put those away, especially by next week. Look at some of these temperatures here, struggling into the low to mid 50s for parts even of the southwest towards Las Cruces here. And then for the southeast region over in Roswell, cracking 80 degrees on Sunday. It's going to be the warmest day of the year as well as the warmest part of the state here. Moving over to the northeast part of the region, we're going to be seeing temperatures on our Saturday upper 60s We'll introduce those rain chances on Monday, but better rain and snow chances for the Las Vegas area by next Wednesday, as we're going to be stuck in those 30s. We do start to rebound beyond that a little bit, so this cold blast is not going to be a long duration event here, just a quick hit for, say, early to middle of the week. For the northern mountains there, only in the low 40s by next Wednesday with more rain and snow chances in the forecast. Over to the East Mountains, that's going to be even cooler because that cold air is going to be moving in from that direction, from the northeast. So enjoy this mild weekend here all over, especially here in the metro as temperatures crack 70 degrees. Here in Albuquerque, we're talking about 74 degrees for your Saturday, slightly cooler and cloudier for our Sunday, and that's where the cool air starts coming in for our Monday. It'll come in waves here. Finally, by next Wednesday, only near 50 degrees.
All right, thanks a lot for that forecast there, Eric. More news is ahead for you today on KRQE News 13 at 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock over there on Fox New Mexico. You can also tune in and catch another newscast here tonight from us on KRQE News 13 at 10 on CBS. We will see you then, and in the meantime, thanks a lot for watching.